Serenity, otherwise known as Mystery of Diamonds, and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, hey y'all! Alright, so this is my first Wip and Chat for the collab that I am doing with Kara, which is the Principal Painter Diamond Painting. And we are doing Lumina. Our hashtag is Lovely Lumina. Now, in order to participate in this, as we've said before, whatever canvas you're doing, that's fine. You just have to comment on each of our videos so that we can put you in. Now, I do have, and I will have in the description of this video, I will put a link to a Google form. You only need to fill out my Google form one time, and that's going to give me your YouTube name and your email address so that when we're doing our weekly giveaways, when I'm giving my weekly giveaway, I can already, I can contact you and be able to set up how to get it sent to you and all that good stuff. I thought I would show you real quick kind of how I do, like, for my kits. I work with a combination of the plastic and these Star Roar release papers. So what I do is I lay out my first row, and a lot of times I'll go ahead and I'll lay out my second row so that I can actually cut the plastic here, so I'm not dealing with all that crinkling plastic. And I did kit up in my Elizabeth Ward system, but I am doing a lot of alterations and all that goody kind of stuff. So I've got those that I'm using in the section that I'm going to do up top. So I'm going to put these to the side where I'll be reaching and getting them, because I kind of go in order. And I got to get my, now because I do it this way, I don't, I use a cover minder to be able to keep down this part so that I don't accidentally, I mean, it's supposed to be stuck to the glue, but I want to make sure that it doesn't come down. Plus, it gives me something really, really pretty to look at while I am diamond painting. And that's just me. I like having my a few little cover minders. And this is my new little cover minder that you will be seeing on all my Wip and Chats. It's my beautiful little dragon egg that I got from Crashly. Okay. So I like to separate mine out into sections, and that's just because I'm one of these people that as I am working, I like to be able to, I don't know, I need a starting and stopping point. That's just me. All right, one other thing that I went ahead and did, because this is my first time that I am blinging out a painting, so what I'm a teacher, so I gotta be a planner. So I just kind of went out, because I don't want to, these aren't going to replace every single part in the color, but I figured, this first part up here is like this stained glass, and so I want as much bling in this stained glass as possible. So I went through and determined what symbols I was going to replace with my special sparklers and special AB drills. Now, I already have the 3 original ABs that come with it. I didn't touch those. I'm still keeping those in it. All right. So let me go ahead and get my first one undone. And no, I have not changed my nails, but it kind of goes with what I'm doing today, so that actually works. All right. And if you saw me, if you've got nails, you don't have to use your nails to pop these open. You can just use the end of your tweezers. All right. So you shake it, shake it, shake it. All right. There was something else I was going to say, and it has slipped out of my brain. Oh, when I place drills with squares, I do use these little tweezers. All right. So Kara and I both decided that since we are, oh, sorry. Now I remember what I was going to say. Ding, ding, ding. It's Friday. Can't you tell? My brain's already tried to go on vacation, because I can officially start my summer now because I've done, kind of what I had to. So, whoop, whoop. All right. What I was going to say is that, Kara is going to be releasing her videos, her Wip and Chats on Thursdays for our collab. and I'm going to be releasing mine on Fridays. Now, even after this collaboration is done, I am going to work really hard to try to do a Wip and Chat and try to release them on Fridays, something regular. I can't guarantee that it will always be that way, but I am certainly going to give it the old college try. And if you're wondering, yes, I can place 3 at the time, 2 and 3 at the time with squares. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have some little accidents where they go popping off and flying, but you know, that happens. All right, so Kara and I both decided that since we are both educators, you know, she's a principal and I'm a teacher, that we would kind of tell about things that have happened to us during our educational career. So I figured what I would do is I would start off actually while talking about, whoops, see, there you go, see, it goes popping off. It does happen. But talking about what happened as I was going through school to become a teacher. And if you watched Kara's Wip and Chat, she mentions fart spray. And I promise you, if you stay along to the end of this Wip and Chat, or towards the end, I will tell you where that fart spray comes in at. All right, so like most college students, you know, while I was going to college to be a teacher, I needed some money. Oh, that one don't have any AB on it. We're going to take that out. No, you don't get to be on the canvas, dude. Sorry. All right. So I decided I needed to have money while I was going to school. And so what I did is a lot of my classes were at night and everything. So I started applying to be a substitute teacher so that I could not only get an opportunity to earn some money, but I could also, you know, get a little bit of experience in the classroom. Needless to say, I did not expect all the stuff that I found as I was substituting. So my very first class that I got a chance to substitute in was a actual high school math class. The teacher had to go away, obviously, and you know, she was sick, and they needed a sub. So it was my first assignment, and you know, I walk in there, and I'm young when I was going to school. I mean, I was in my middle 20s, and you know, so I go in there, you know, I've got like this huge optimism, you know, and I'm like, yeah, I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this. Well, I was excited to be there, but you know, kids are not always super excited to, I mean, they're excited to see a sub, but you know, at the same time, one of the reasons they're excited to see a sub is because they are going to try to get out of doing work. Okay. Because if you don't know, when a teacher has to be out, we try to leave what's called sub plans. Oh, got me a little piece of trash. Okay. That we try to leave sub plans, which are plans for the substitute to follow, you know, because otherwise, you know, you're just kind of throwing them out there to the sharks alone, and you know, we don't want to do that. So I walk in, and you know, I see what plans she has. She's got a worksheet for them to do, and so I hand out the worksheet, and you know, and just kind of watch them, you know, because I'm like, okay, well, now what do I do? And as soon as the first student got up and started walking towards me, I kind of already had an idea of what was fixing to happen. And the reason I had this idea is because, you know, I used to be a high school student myself, and trust me, if there is a way that they can not have to do work, you know, they're going to take it, you know, most of the time. And I have been in that position. I have been one of the ones that has done what this kid was fixing to do. And like I said, because I was a student before, I knew it was going to happen. See, the thing is, when you go and you substitute in a math class, okay, a lot of times substitutes that are in a math class, or that sub for a math class, are not always as knowledgeable about math, okay? And students know this. And so what they do is they decide that they're going to go up to the teacher and tell them, you know, I know that our teacher left this, but I don't understand how to do this. Now, if you get a sub that does not know how to do that, especially as you get up into the higher maths, and they don't know how to do that type of math, then a lot of times the sub will look at the kid and say, well, you know, just have it, you know, just go back to your desk, do the best you can, you know, just kind of stay quiet, because, you know, they don't know what else to tell them to do, because if they're not very good at, you know, math, they're not going to really know how to help the kid. And like I said, these kids know it and they take advantage of it. You know, I know we did it too. So I recognized the walk as he was walking. I recognized the smirk on his face, because I had worn that same kind of look and that same kind of smirk when I would go do the same thing that he was fixing to pull. So I was ready, you know, because I was going to school and I did want to teach math. So I was, you know, I was still good at the math. And so sure enough, he walks up to me and he's like, okay, I would love to do this work that she gave us, but I really just do not understand how to do this. And now he's looking at me, and like I said, he's got this huge smirk on his face, and he's expecting me to say what all subs say. And instead, I said, well, here, hand it here. Let me see if I can help you with it. And for a brief moment, like, the confusion crossed his face, and he's like, and he looks back at his friends, and I can see them shrugging their shoulders, and he's like, okay, because, like, what else can he do? You know, at this point, he's already been found out. You know, at this point, he is already committed to saying he didn't know how to do it and he needed some help. And so he hands me the paper, because, you know, I just flabbergasted him. He didn't know what to do. And so I took the paper and I saw the problem, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I know how to do this. And so I started walking him through it. And the coolest thing was to actually see his face transform from, like, this look of confusion of, like, what in the world, you know, is this really happening? And so it went from this look of confusion to, whoa, because all of a sudden what I was saying to him started to make sense. And he got really excited. So he was like, okay, well, let me try this one on my own. Let me try this one. And I said, sure, go ahead. And so he sat there at the desk with me, and he tried the next problem, and sure enough, you know, he got it. You know, he understood it. And all of a sudden, like, we call light bulb moments. This is the only way that I can explain it, because when his face lit up, as soon as understanding crossed through, it's like if we were in a cartoon, we would see a light bulb pop off in his head, you know. And that is probably one of the coolest things as being a teacher, is watching that light bulb moment, watching that moment when they get it, you know, when it's like, oh, it's happening. So he does the problem, he shows it to me, and sure enough, he got it. He understood it. And so he runs back to his desk to start working on the worksheet. Now that he understands it, well, you know, the other kids have kind of watched this, right? They've watched what's happened, and, you know, some of them go over to him and they're like, dude, do you actually understand what's happening? And he's like, yes, you know. And so he showed a few of them. Well, and then I started getting more coming up to me. And when I realized that a ton of the class were actually starting to want to come up and ask the same question that, you know, he did, I stood up and I said, hey guys, would y'all like me to show you how to do some of these problems on this worksheet? Would you like me to show you how you can do problems like this? And strangely enough, this class who was looking forward to just sitting there, like, raised their hand. They're like, yes, yes, please. Or, so I actually did my very first math lesson that first day of substituting, which like I said, I wasn't really expecting to. And, the looks on their faces as they got more and more excited and as more and more light bulbs started going off in their heads was just phenomenal. It's something I can't really explain, other than to tell you that right there kind of sealed the deal with me that I definitely want it to be a teacher, because I want it to be able to make that difference. And so I left there, and I can remember a few of the kids looked at me and they were like, oh my gosh, thank you so much, because I finally understand something from this class for the first time all year. Now, listen, I know how kids are, and that was, that I'm pretty sure that probably wasn't the truth, but let me tell you, it felt good hearing it, right? It felt good hearing that they truly appreciated it. And so then I go on to some of my other assignments. Now, you got to remember, I started off on a real big high. That was like, woohoo. So then the next class they sent me to was a kindergarten class. Now, all right, I'm a little naive in some things. And one of those things that I was naive in was that I had an understanding that kindergartners were just the sweetest, and they kept their hands to themselves, and they followed and went in like they're supposed to with the teachers. That was my understanding of kindergartners. Now, to say that that's not what actually happened is, not even telling the whole truth. I mean, oh my goodness. I walk in, and yes, they are sweet, because at first what I didn't realize is they were kind of sizing me up, right? And, I went and I got the lesson plan as to, because I was going to have these particular kids all day long. It wasn't like that high school class where I had many, just popping, where I had many different classes of kids. No, I was going to have these kids all day long. And so the teacher left me a note that said, go ahead and have them sit down on the carpet, because we do sharing story time at the very beginning. And see, when you have the younger kids, you want to make sure that you follow the instructions that the teacher leaves, because they're not as used to change as the older kids are. Okay, so I tell them, all right, let's get on the carpet for our sharing story time. Oh Lord, they started chasing each other around the classroom and pinching each other and screaming and hollering, and I'm sitting here like a deer in the headlights. I'm like, guys, hello, y'all, on the carpet, because I don't want to yell. These are little kids, right? And I'm like, guys, come on, we got to do sharing story time. And they're like, you're a boo-boo head. No, you're a boo-boo head. Stop touching me. Ah, would you stop looking at me? You licked my arm. Lord, I'm telling y'all people, I did not know what to do. I'm sitting there like, what alternate universe have I gotten myself into? So I had to start saying, hey, because I don't know their names. I'm a sub. I'm like, hey, you with the blonde hair, stop touching her with the red hair. No, I said stop touching her. What does stop touching mean? No, it doesn't mean lick her. It means stop touching, stop putting your hands on her. And I'm sitting here going, oh, this is not. So finally, after about 30 minutes of me trying to wrangle, because as soon as I would get one group of kids to do what they were supposed to and get them sitting on the carpet, then, the other group had run off and was started to go through each other's lunch boxes. They were going in the cubbies, and I was just like, oh my goodness, am I going to have to am I going to have to call the office and try to figure out, they're going to think I am so inept. And I thought, oh, this is not working. Finally, after 30 minutes, I get all the kids on the carpet, and whew, I was already exhausted. I was looking at the clock going, when's recess? When's lunchtime? Whew, this day cannot get over fast enough. And so we finally get through story time, but now story time took us a long time. And let me explain why. Because as we're doing story time, and one kid would share something that had happened that was awesome from the day before, another kid would pipe up and be like, oh, guess what, when I did this and this one time, and like they all wanted to pitch in on every single story. Well, you don't want to crush their little hearts or their little dreams, so you try to listen, but then I realized that we're getting further and further behind what their teacher wants us to do. So, I have to try to go, all right, tell you what, you can kind of share yours when it's your time for, telling the story time. Oh, Lord. We finally got through story time. And the next part of the day is for them to do their numbers. And, she had a board set up. And from that point, it kind of started going a little bit easier. I'm not going to say it went easy. I'm just going to say it went easier. And so I was really looking forward to lunchtime, because that was the next thing up. And so when it was time for lunch, I was like, whew. And then so, I'd already been instructed, you get the kids to line up. And luckily for me, the teacher already had who the line leader was. Because if you don't know, I usually try to name a kid, and they're the head of the line, and everybody knows to line up behind them. And because I was going to school to be a teacher, I had already learned this little trick called hold your bubble in your mouth. And that may sound a little strange, but what it is that you have the kid. Now, this does not work on older kids, guys. The middle schoolers and high schoolers look at you like you've lost your brain. But elementary kids, you tell them, okay, I want you to pretend that you have a bubble in your mouth, and you cannot bust it or let it go. And so, they puff out their cheeks and they hold the bubble, but that means they are also not talking, because they can't open their mouth or else the bubble will escape. And so they hold the bubble all the way to the lunchroom. Once we get them to the lunchroom, we actually can let them go get in line. And then you head to the teacher's lounge. And I remember sitting down in the teacher's lounge, and I was like, whew, I am so ready for lunch. And I look around and I see all these teachers like very quickly shoveling food in their mouth. Like, I mean, there's not talking going on. There's not any, like, there's, and I'm like, oh, I'm like, is everything okay? And they're like, you must be new. And I'm like, well, yeah, this is only my second time substituting. And they're like, you get about 20 minutes to eat lunch, because you have 30, but by the time you take the kids and line them up and bring them down, you've got about 20, because you've also got to leave time to go take them back to the classroom. So you might want to hurry up and eat. And just that little exchange had already taken like 5 minutes, and I was like, oh my, okay. So I start eating. I end up having to throw away like half of my sandwich, because it just didn't went that quickly. And so if you ever go out to eat with a teacher, if they eat really fast, guys, please forgive them. We're not given a long time to eat. And so we sometimes forget that we don't have to inhale our food very quickly in a short amount of time. All right. So, I get back to the classroom, and it's time for some math and then some spelling. And the rest of that part of the day, once they've gotten used to me, they start settling down. They start actually doing what they're supposed to do, doing their assignments. So I thought, whew, okay. The hard part is over. Now it's time for music. And so, you know, you walk them to the music teacher, because see, that's something that's a little different in elementary school than in middle school and high school, is that elementary kids usually have this thing called a wheel. And it's where you have your classroom time, but then you have like your time for, some days they'll go to the art teacher, some days they'll go to the music teacher, things like that. And so today was the music teacher, or that day was the music teacher's time. So you walk them to the music teacher, and I remember standing there, and the music teacher's like, you can go on back to your classroom, and then when wheel is over, then you go ahead and you come back and pick them up. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And so it's kind of like the teacher's planning period, is that while they're at wheel class, you know, you get a chance to go back and work in your classroom. So I was super excited for that, because I'm telling you, I was ready for a nap. And see, you know, naps were no longer a thing in kindergarten. The schools had stopped doing naps, so it's not like I could lay the kids down, you know, even if you could, it's not like you could take a nap with them, right? You know, you have to be watching them. So I was very tempted to lay my head down, but you know, I knew I couldn't. You know, I have to be professional, so I started trying to look at more of the lesson plan and planning in my head, and then before I knew it was time to go pick them up. And then a little bit later in the day, it was time for recess. And I thought, whew, this is going to be the easiest part. Y'all, you would think watching kindergartners on a playground would be nice and relaxing and easy. Oh, no, because you have just given them free rein to touch each other, chase each other, run, hit, kick, everything. And I think probably one thing that I was not prepared for, because nobody told me, nobody prepared me, was the game, I'll show you yours, you show me mine, you show me yours, I'll show you mine. Hopefully you know what that means when I say that. Because I look over in the playground, and I see a little boy and a little girl attempting to show each other their stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, no. You know, and one of the other kindergartner teachers saw it, and she said, here, since you're up, let me handle it, you know. And she walked over to him, and you know, she pulled him away, she pulled him aside, she had a conversation with him, and I was like, oh, thank goodness she handled that, because like I didn't know what to say to these kids. Like I didn't want to traumatize them or anything, but at the same time, you know, I knew they weren't supposed to be playing, you know, that game. And I just, like I said, I wasn't prepared for it. So finally, the end of the day, like I think that day had to have been one of the longest days of my, like even my whole teaching career. So when, excuse me, when the principal asked me, or not the principal, but the office asked me, are you available to sub tomorrow? First question I asked was, is it kindergarten? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, no. And it's just because I realized at that moment that under no circumstances was I going to be teaching kindergarten. That was beyond my realm of comfortability, you know. And I had some other interesting experiences as a substitute. Most of the time, you go in, and I went in with a game plan. First off, I went in with puzzles. Also went in with extra activity sheets, because yes, there are times that you go into a teacher's classroom, and because it was an emergency when they left and they didn't have sub plans, and if it's a subject that I, you know, wasn't like, if it was math or science, I was good, but if it was anything else, you know, I couldn't just make up on the spot. So I had gone and gotten these logic puzzle worksheets that if the teacher had not left me something, I could pull those out of my bag and I could handle that, you know. So I had started going in with a game plan, and I also started doing this thing where to get the kids on my side from the get-go, I would tell them, all right, here's the deal. I'm going to institute a 3-strike you're out rule. Now what this means, this is applying to the whole class, guys. I said, I am going to put 3 marks on the board. All right. And every time that y'all are rowdy and not doing what you're supposed to be doing, I'm going to remove a mark. If I have removed a mark, then I'm going to take time away at the end of the period where you could have been talking. Because, see, I said, you know, every mark represents 2 minutes. You know, so you could get up to 6 minutes of free talking in the class with your friends if you behave. But if I have to take away a mark, that's 2 minutes that you lose. And obviously all 3, and you're working all the way to the very end. And strangely enough, it actually did work. You know, they wanted that free time at the end to hang out with their buddies and talk and whatnot. So, you know, I started being asked to sub more and more. I got to the point where I was pretty much almost subbing every day. And there were times where I would have to sub in what we call an ESC class. And all that means is that we have kids that need special attention, and they're not used to change very well. So you really have to stick to the schedule and what they always have stuff prepared for you when you're in a class like that, and you usually have help. But, you know, that was my first experience of getting a chance to really work with kids that needed some extra help and extra attention. And I really thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, for a very short amount of time, I considered going into special education, but there were a few times that I wasn't prepared. Like, you know, I wasn't prepared when you have a kid that has a freak out, and like I don't know the special tips and tricks at that point to be able to help them out. And so, like, luckily for me, like I said, there's always an aide in there with you, and that aide is in the class all year, and they're able to help, you know. As a teacher now, I actually know, like, my kids, and I get to know my students, so I know how to be able to help them now. But, you know, like I said, I was a sub. I didn't know them. I didn't know how to be able to help. All right, so what I'm going to tell you about this fart spray. Having interesting experiences as a substitute myself, I can feel for subs coming into my classroom when I'm out. So, you know, I always make sure that I leave thorough notes, and, you know, here's what you need to do. I leave worksheets, I leave instructions. You know, the only way that really wouldn't happen is if an emergency happened where I had to leave the school, like, right then, right there. But most of the time I have something prepared, especially if they're going to pull in a substitute. Have it all nice and typed up and everything. And, you know, I kind of expect the sub to make sure that everything is, I don't know, taken care of the way that I would expect. Like I would have taken care of another teacher's classroom. You know, call me crazy, but that's just kind of how I viewed it. And I remember coming back this one time from being sick, and I walked back into my class, and the room smells like a skunk has come in and farted and died. I mean, the smell was so bad that, I mean, it made me gag. And it takes a lot, guys, to make me gag, because in all my years of teaching, you know, I've taught middle school and high school, and I'm not sure what it is, but there is something about, especially the boys, that they actually will almost poop themselves just so they could try to fart to get reaction out of the kids, you know. So I'm used to regular fart smells, okay, which dissipate, you know, after a few minutes. This stuff didn't, no, this stuff didn't dissipate. So I'm like trying to find out what in the world is wrong. Has something crawled up in the ductwork and died in my classroom, or what in the world? And I'll tell you right now, kids tell on each other. They tell on each other like bad. So of course, as soon as I walk in and the kids smell the smell, they're like, oh yeah, let me tell you what happened yesterday. Let me tell you what happened. And I'm like, please do, because I don't understand. They're like, oh yeah, we had to have the principal and the assistant principal and all of them had to come and get some people because they brought this fart spray into your classroom, and they decided they'd go to the very back and they'd spray the carpet with the fart spray, and then it would fill up the whole room. And oh my gosh, we were open, you know, people were opening windows and people were trying to climb out the windows, and they were running around, you know, screaming and hollering and woo, it smells, ooh, it smells. And I said, well, what exactly is the sub during all this? And they're like, oh, the sub's there, but looking real confused and not knowing what to do. And I said, well, I could kind of imagine that. I mean, that would have been fart spray would have been a new one on me. You know, I know what to do when a kid just farts. You know, you ignore it and try not to say anything and try to keep on going with your lesson, because if you don't, trust me, they'll take your whole period with, oh my God, it stinks. Let me put your shirt over your mouth. You know, and then they'll make like these gagging noises, you know, and I'm like, really, guys? Can we please, especially high schoolers, can we please get back to what we're supposed to be doing? And y'all stop acting like that. But it smells so bad. Okay, yeah. And then, of course, like I said, you know, the few little odd kids that, because they're trying to fart so hard, they actually have a little accident, and then they for real have to go to the bathroom. But yeah, so substituting was very interesting, but I mean, it did give me a little bit of insight into the classroom. I can't say that it told me what teaching was going to be like, and the reason is that kids do not behave towards a substitute the same way that they behave towards their regular teacher. Okay, you know, they're used to knowing what they can and cannot do or what they can get away with, not get away with in a specific teacher's class. And so when you remove that teacher and you put in a substitute, well, now they got to figure out what kind of substitute they have. Do they have a newbie? Do they have an easygoing one? Do they have a strict one? You know, and so they got to test their boundaries. And so you may leave a class full of absolute sweetie patooties, and they turn into hootie patooties. You know, they do a 360, and you're like, oh wow. You know, you come back and the sub has left a note, this class did da 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 da, and you're thinking, really? And so, you know, you have to address the class and go, I am very disappointed. Y'all know y'all don't behave this way with me. I've also learned to lock my refrigerator when I am not going to be at school, because those kids will go up and tell that substitute that I normally let them go into my refrigerator and get my snacks and my lunches and my drinks. And for whatever reason, the substitutes believe them, and they go and I'll come back and all my sodas and my snacks and stuff all gone. I'm like, no. So I started locking my refrigerator. You're not getting that. I like my snacks. I like my soda. You're not going, no, sir. But like I said, I did learn a lot from being a sub. And I had many more experiences like that first one. In fact, it got to the point that because they knew that I knew what I was talking about when it came to math, they actually started requesting me for math substituting, where the teacher would leave their actual lesson plan with me, and they knew that I would teach it and that the kids would understand it, and they could actually move on the next day when they came back. And so you know, I had math teachers begging me not to actually get my teaching degree just so that I could substitute for them. They even called me in when one of the teachers had a stroke and had to be rushed to the hospital. There were no lesson plans whatsoever, and it was so quick minute that I didn't even have my little baggie of things to do. So I took a look at his grade book and asked the kids where they were in the material, and they told me, and I just went ahead and taught the lesson from there. And I had to be with them actually for a couple of days, and that worked out pretty well. So, you know, and by the way, I don't know if this is going to work with changing out the black with the 310 AB. If I don't like it, I'll remove them and put the regular black in. But like I said, I was trying to get this stained glass thing, so I was trying to get it all sparkly. Let me see if I can hold it up and kind of show you if it will work. Let me take this off for a second. If it will work, to show you what I have accomplished. Okay. Alright, can we see all that sparkle? Alright, so that's pretty much all that I was going to talk about today is, you know, sorry about the camera there. It just wanted to lean in. I'm so sorry. Alright, I hope that you will follow and you will join in with this collaboration with us. Kara and I, we're going to have so much fun. Like I said, if you want to be entered in the very first giveaway for my channel, and Kara's going to do a giveaway for her channel, you have got to comment on this video, and you have to fill out the comment form. Like I said, once you fill out the comment form for me one time, you don't have to fill it out again, okay? And I will have that linked in the description. Alright, so that is it for this first Wip and Chat on this collaboration Lumina. I got some accomplished up here. I'm going to continue working on her. And as I always say, reach for the stars, grab hold, hold on, and never let go. If you like this video, hit the like button down below. If you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. I'd love to have you as part of the Diamond family. Alright, until next time. Bye, guys.